Today's session is a very, very important and interesting session. Because what are the age group of your children? I mean, I believe they are all from the 7th standard to the 10th standard. So can I just get a count of what class your children are studying in? You can use the chat box.
Mine is in 9th.
Okay. So yeah, Prabhat Ranjan's child is in 9th standard.
10th, Abha.
Abba's child is in 10th standard. Okay.
Mine is in 8th.
Okay. So Manoj sir's child is in 8th standard. Yeah. So anyone else would like to share?
9th standard.
9th standard. Okay. Right. So I think we're all talking about children in the 8th to 10th standard out here. And I'm sure as parents, I also have 2 kids and teenagers. Vidya ma'am has got 2 kids and they're also in the same age group. And when we are looking at our children as parents, I think the first concern is, everybody talks about education. Am I right or wrong? Education is something that rules our mind as of now. Do you agree with me?
True. That's true.
That's right.
Absolutely right. So now what's happening is if you look at our entire education system in which we have been brought up, when we grew up and when we have been getting educated, there is this concept of these 5 subjects that we talk about, that we have to do well in them and you have to get good marks and then, you get a good college. That's the kind of narrative that we all have grown up listening to. And, just to introduce myself, I'm Naveen Badrinarayan. I look after the research and product design at Dheya. My background is I'm a postgraduate mechanical engineer. I served in the Indian Navy for about 25 years. And I came out of the Navy voluntarily to pursue my passion, which is to work with the youth of India and try to give them some aspirations, which, to make them feel that they can do something great in life. And that's what we are doing at Dheya. So I've been working with Dheya for the last 6 years after I left the Navy tenure of mine. And, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And I want to just, kind of share my feelings and my opinions and whatever data we have and whatever work we are doing with you all so that you try and understand it. I would request you to be a little bit open-minded because what happens is, when we go through this entire education system in schools, we are completely focused on this concept of marks and I've been like that. I've been like that in my childhood. I was a topper in my, college and all that. And I was very good in academics. And that's the reason I got into engineering. And if you know our olden days, if you're good in maths and science, the road led directly to engineering, right or wrong? So it was a clear cut direction. Maths match ho, science match ho, engineering karo. And if you don't like maths, then get into biology and become a doctor. And if you're not an engineer or a doctor, then, think of becoming a chartered accountant. And if you're not good at academics at all, then you don't have a choice but to do arts. Now, this is what we have been listening to and we have been growing with. Now, today, when we are talking about it, the topic is very controversial. I said science is unsafe. So I'm sure people will be wondering, what is this joker going to talk about? I'm an engineer myself, having done science in all my life, and I'm saying science is unsafe. Come on. I mean, this must be something really surprising to most of you there and saying, what is this person talking about? But, I have nothing against science. I have nothing against it. Frankly, I'm a very scientifically minded person myself. I've been working on submarines in the Indian Navy. I've handled engineering equipment with my own hands. I've done pretty well in the Navy. I did very well and I was known for my expertise on the, managing the equipment and managing men and all that stuff. So it's not that I've got anything against science or against engineering or any technical work. But my problem is something different. My problem is that, today we are all suffering with a lot of, I would say, mindset issues as a society, as a community. And I'm going to share something with you about these mindsets. So let me share my presentation with you and I'll showcase and we'll discuss it. Every slide we're going to discuss it. We're going to have a nice interaction to get your views and then, kind of understand the perspectives of 2 sides of a coin. Every coin has got a head side and a tail side. So we're going to look at all the perspectives, keep our minds open, and then we're going to discuss and say, if I have to decide something for my children, how do you take a decision? So the end of this session, you guys will be completely equipped to say, okay, when I look at my child's life, the whole world available to me to take a decision. And it's not restricted to the narrative that we just talked about, saying that, okay, my child is very good in academics, he's good in maths and he's good in science, so he should do this or he should do that. It should not be that is what I'm trying to say. And let's look at it in more detail. So let me share my presentation with you people. Now, why am I calling this concept? Because I've been talking to a lot of parents the last 6 years when I was been doing sessions with a lot of parents and students and all that. And when we sit with families and talk, I get this apprehension, and especially people like me who have been their life in this field of engineering or IT or, working in the technical fields. And, a lot of us in the world have been exposed to the technical field. We have a general feeling that, 10th standard ke baad, 11th and 12th, science is very safe. take science and you're rest assured that uske baad mein they can choose what they want to choose. So there is this thought which keeps running in the mind of many parents. How many of you feel like that?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
Yes, because we find, I think it's convenient, they can branch into any field.
Yes.
Yeah, once you know the science, then I think most of the part is mathematics, and science means not only science, so mathematics, biology, and science. So if it is
Right.
going to mathematics, then mathematics science. If you are coming to biology, so biology science. So if you
Great.
know the science, then you can fit in any part of the work. What I can say.
Right. Now, you know what? This is the mindset that everybody has. Okay.
Right.
And we're going to question this mindset. I want you guys to be open minded. Okay. We're going to question this
Good.
mindset. We're going to talk on it. And I'm going to show you some data. I'm going to show you some facts. And then we're going to discuss it. And I've been dealing with a lot of students, and I've got my own children who have actually not taken science. Though I'm an engineer, both of them have chosen not to take science. And I think they're happy doing what they're doing, and they've got a path ahead of them. And I think what's important is, as parents, we want our children to do well. And most importantly, they have to be happy doing what they're doing, right or wrong. We want our children to be happy, and we want them to do well in their life. These are two given things. Now, we are not going to take these two things away, and keeping this as a focus, we want to look at what are the different options available, and why do I say, if I at all I say that science is unsafe, and I'm going to break that mindset saying that science is safe by showing you some data. So let's look at it, and then let's debate on it. It'll be a healthy debate, and let's try and see what we get out of it. Now, there are some mindsets that we talk of. Okay, I'll show you these mindsets. First mindset is that in terms of intelligence, we generally feel that children who are very intelligent should actually take science. And then comes commerce, and then comes arts. How many of you feel this is right? You can raise your hands. How many of you feel that science is greater than commerce, is greater than arts, is your mindset? Saying that if you're intelligent, then like Mr. Ranjan that said that science is everything. You know science, you know maths, then you know life. You can handle life very well. So how many of you feel like that?
No, I mean to say it is not everything, but yeah, if you know science and math or biology, you can fit it in any kind of the work.
Right.
That's what I mean to say. But
Mr. Ranjan,
if you have
what
to
is
proceed,
if I can ask you, what is the qualification you have, sir?
MCA,
Master of Computer Applications. Okay.
right? Yeah.
And I'm a MTech in mechanical engineering, and I was a gold medalist in Pune University. And even today, when my son comes to me for solving problems in integration or differentiation or something, I'm very good at solving it. But let me be very frank with you, honest to my heart. 25 years of working in submarines, handling equipment, handling machinery. One day I did not use either integration, differentiation, or any of the problems that I kept solving for 4 to 6 years in my academic life.
That is true. That is true.
And today, last 6 years, I'm doing some work which is completely different from engineering. And I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing. Because, when I was young, there was nobody talking to me, telling me that you may be good at maths and science, but, there are so many things that you can do in this world. And second point is, when we take our education system, it gives me a book. It says, I used to live in UP. I was born and brought up in a place called Bareilly, where, we had a school which was a convent school. And there, speaking in any language other than English was a crime. So if I spoke in Hindi for some time, immediately 25 paisa fine used to be given to me. Okay. Those days. Okay. And then, there was those strict subjects given to us. You have to score well in these subjects and all that. And then we got so hooked onto those subjects. And, if I have to clear my physics paper, there was something called a Goyal's Guide. Okay. And then there was a tuition teacher. And then what is given in that book, I have to answer. Then now I really want to ask this question: is science equal to the subjects that are taught in the school, the books that are given to us to cram and vomit in the exams, or is science beyond that? Ask yourself this question, because see, as a society, we have never challenged the education system which has been given to us. Rather, this education system has been thrust onto us, saying that this is the route, you don't have a choice. Everybody has to put their children in school. Everybody has to go through those 5 subjects, and those teachers will tell you what is to be done. And you have to just listen to those teachers and follow it, like a horse with a blindfolded put on their ears. Just follow that line. Don't apply your mind. When my son was in 8th standard and the maths teacher asked him, I went for the PTM. The teacher told me, your child is a back answerer and asked a lot of stupid questions. I said, what stupid question did he ask you? He asked me, why is Pythagoras theorem called Pythagoras theorem? Now, this was not a stupid question. This was a very intelligent question in my view, because the child was wondering as to who is this Pythagoras on which this theorem has been named, and why did he find out this theorem at all? Now, how many of us in our childhood have ever dared to ask our teachers this question? See, the point I'm making is I did not dare. I was a very sincere student. I used to just listen to my teacher and obey whatever was told and just forget the marks and come back home and get a lot of, good things from my parents saying that you're a great student and all that. But not many people are like me. I have classmates who did not do well in studies. They were very weak in academics. They sat in the back end. They could not score marks. They struggled in mathematics. And I would say you that people like me are far and few. In fact, the rest of the people of the world are huge numbers. But is the education system made only for those few people who can understand, who are very disciplined, who understand their teachers and they, follow what the teacher says and score marks and, given a pat on the back saying that you're a very good boy, good girl? Is it made only for them? Or is it made for that person sitting in the back bench who says मेरे को नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, I don't understand what the teacher is telling me? Okay, and then this poor child keeps feeling, and these poor children are many as compared to the few who are very good, and these poor children keep feeling throughout their life that there is something wrong with their mind. They are not intelligent at all. And then you have this huge marketing system of our coaching classes and foundation classes and preparatory classes which keep on telling you that these are the role models. Who are the role models? These few children who are very good, very disciplined in listening to the teacher and ability to vomit and cram and vomit whatever is being told to them and score a lot of marks in the exam. They are very good and their photos are put in the newspaper, and these children join those IITs. They join the NEETs and AIMS and AFMCs, and they all become the people who just follow orders. They are disciplined. They are very good boys and girls. And the remaining entire population keeps looking at them and wondering, Kash main udhar hota. Just imagine what's happening in our country. I'm going to show you numbers. I'm not just talking out of the hat. I've got research to show what I'm telling you, and I'm going to show you numbers to prove this. So it's like, a small door and a stampede outside it. And all marketing is about telling parents that if you want your child to be happy in life, he or she has to crack JE or has to crack NEET. Only then their life is good. Otherwise, your life is gone. Because that is the only way people will enter into coaching classes. That is the only way they can make their money. And I'm telling you that if you look at the numbers, the coaching class market is even bigger than the school market in terms of money. It's much bigger. And imagine 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of your time, the child is spending 4 hours in school and another 4 hours in that coaching class. And by the time the child comes back home and then he has to do homework, she has to do homework and then study and then study, there is nothing other than studies. Moment it come to 8th, 9th, 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard. And my elder one, he topped the 10th board. He topped the 10th board in his school and his name came in the newspaper and all, and he got an award. So my younger one was very annoyed. He said, why is this guy getting an award? That means all the other children who have not topped, they're all useless or what? Why should this guy get money for having topped the class? So that was his question. That was a young boy's question, which I could not answer. I said, we are glorifying marks, we are glorifying percentages, which is equal to your capability to cram and repeat what has been taught to you. That is being glorified in the market, and your child is made to believe that he's super intelligent because he's able to cram something and give out something which has been reproduced as such in the paper in those 2 hours and score absolute 99% or whatever it is. So you are great in the world. All of us are working in the industry. Would you like a person like this to work under you in the industry? My first question, very honest question to you. You have a person who's very good at listening to you, following your orders, just repeats whatever you say and just puts it down immediately. Would you prefer such a person in your office? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And that's the reality. And I agree with all of you. Anybody here who differs with me? I mean, I would love to discuss this. Let's have an open discussion. There are some industries in which you require people like this. I'm not saying no, because there are industries where there are processes where you have to follow the rules, you have to just follow what is being told to you, and you are very good for the industry to work like that. So I'm not denying that. There is a need for people like that also. But that is for the betterment of the industry. And that's exactly what I'm trying to bring out, that when the industrial revolution happened way back in the when it started off, when the colonialism was in the peak and when Britishers were ruling the world, when industrial revolution took over, and industrial revolution is about mass manufacturing and mass assembly processes, which required people to stand at the machine and follow SOP. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, wear a uniform, go and stand there, follow the process, and you have to do what you've been told to do and not do anything from your own mind, which is where the requirement of such labor started coming in. And for creating that labor, the education system was created, saying that education system should actually replicate the model of the industrial revolution, where it said that, okay, there will be a bell or there will be a siren in which everybody is supposed to assemble. Then they all are supposed to move to their respective workstations or their classrooms, analogical. And then they are supposed to listen to what has been told to them. They're supposed to follow orders. They're not supposed to question who or why, but just do what has been told. So this was the entire model which was needed for the industrial revolution. And the factories used to run like that. And they needed people to work in the factories. So the Education Act, which was created in the British times, is fully focused on creating workers for the industry that was running at that point in time. And that's how the Indian Education Act got created. These 5 subjects got created, the teachers got created, uniform got created, a school concept got created, discipline got created, everything got created aligned to the requirement of the industry, which was fine at that point in time because you needed a huge manpower to do this kind of work. And this manpower was being trained to do that kind of work. Now industry has completely transformed, the world has completely changed. And today the Indian government has opened up by talking about the new education policy, and they've come up with some good things in the new education policy, but it's too late and it is not implementable, is my view. Because that education policy again talks about training about 2 crore teachers and make them capable for people to become industry ready. I doubt whether it is possible. Because, unfortunately, when I joined the engineering college, I left Navy and I went to the engineering college to teach. And when I saw the abysmal state of education in the engineering industry, I went to the colleges, I saw the people being taught there, somebody coming and teaching the same way it is being taught to me, say 25 years back. The same thing is being taught again. And many of those things are redundant, not relevant. And worst case scenario is the children who are sitting in the class are least interested in engineering. They joined engineering because, their parents said, engineering kar lo to safe ho jayega, tum kuch to seekh jaoge. Life will be good for you. And then now that engineering also has got MCQs, and you require a minimum percentage of 35-40% to pass it and get a degree. So even if you don't know anything about engineering, you can just use some guesswork and you can clear your engineering exam. So it has become like that. So Pune University has got an MCQ system where 25% of the marks are that, and remaining another 15-20% you need to get, you create your clearance and then you get a degree in hand saying that I'm an engineer. And today, if you look at the technical degrees, like Mr. Ranjan here said, MCA, if I add MCA, BCA, BCS, MCS, everything together, all technical education, today, as per our research, 4.1 crore technical people in India are sitting with technical degrees and they are unemployed. Not because there is no opportunity. Opportunities are there. But the problem is that, there is a lot of illusion in the mind of a technical person that once I clear my engineering, once I clear my technical degree, I'm eligible for this category of jobs, which will pay me at least this much. And what happens is those kind of jobs are not available in plenty. You will get jobs. Jobs are available. But you're not ready to go and work in those jobs. You have been created an illusion in your mind that if you are a technical person, you should be drawing something X, and that X is way beyond what is normally offered in the industry. That's the reality. So what is happening is these kids are getting misled. They are, being told that, you should be getting at least this much of starting salary. Otherwise, you should not join a job, and they are not getting any opportunity. And then they start looking for doing their masters. They start looking at getting into UPSC. They start studying again. And then I find 26-year-old, 25-year-olds who are sitting at home, not at all prepared for work, and continuing to do the same routine of again getting into studies and wasting another 2-3 years of their life without knowing that this time is never going to come back. Now, this is the problem. It's a very big problem that this country is facing. And there's another threat to it. Every kid in India today wants to run away abroad. I've been speaking to so many kids in the last 6 years. Every family I talk to, if he's coming from an urban background, the only aspiration they have is abroad jana hai, abroad jana hai. And there's a huge market which will sell you foreign courses. They will just put you into any program, send you abroad for something, and you feel, wow, life is made. And last week I had a girl coming to me for interview for a sales job. We have a way of finding out people. So we looked at her profile. She was not a sales profile at all. She was a very introverted, systematic, disciplined person who can actually do research and analysis and all. I wondered, why is she getting into sales? And I called and asked her, and her background, she was a BE in computer engineering, followed by an MS in computer science from Connecticut in USA. And now she's 28 years of age, married, okay, and looking for a job desperately in the last 2 years. She's changed a couple of jobs. She's not settled down anywhere. And she's come looking for desperately. She says, I'll do any job. Just give me a job because I've been searching for a job. And I asked her, I said, why are you like this? When you have done computer science, you have focused yourself in that particular field. Why are you not working in that area? Do you have any dreams? Do you want to do something in that? Clueless. Because there's no jobs available. And according to her idea of a job. Because, probably a sales role paid her more than what an entry level computer science she was getting. She probably didn't get a job like that. So probably something clouding her mind. Now, this time of her from 24 to 28, is it ever going to come back in her life? 4 years gone. What about the time of education that she did? What about the loan that the father took, and he is still paying an EMI on that loan that he took to send her abroad for that education? It's not an easy thing. Of course, it varies anywhere between 50 lakhs to a crore of rupees that gets spent on a foreign education by a parent. And when parents are not able to afford that, they take loans. Now, where is the return on investment? Forget about the money. The time that has gone, this child's time, is it ever going to come back? Now, this is the problem that we are having, when we talk about getting into that, now the market is very, very brutal in this, okay? Because the kind of impressions that they create in our mind, they will keep showcasing those toppers of IITs and, NEET and this, and they'll make you believe that, if your child is like that, your life is made. Otherwise, you're going to be mediocre. And they talk as if there is no other option available. Science is very safe. Only if you take science. Why? Because the entire education market is focused like that. The entire coaching market is focused towards NEET exams and towards JEE exams. And they get a lot of money through this marketing campaigns. Now, we need to understand this very clearly. Because if we fall into the trap, you're getting into a very, very, I would call it a Pied Piper of Hamelin trap, all of you have heard the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, right? Where this guy is a Pied Piper who he's called to capture all the rats and all the rats just follow him and they jump into the ocean. So, parents should not become like those rats who are running behind the Pied Piper, which is the education market and the coaching market. That's what you need to understand because they are making their money on this, on your fears. They're putting a fear into your mind saying that your child will suffer, science is safe, you have to take the stream. Why? Because they need that class to get filled up with people. And I don't know how many of you have seen that web series called Quota Factory. It's got 2 seasons now coming up. You must see it. You'll realize what happens in the coaching market. It's really bad. And we have saved many children from, even situations of where they're wanting to commit suicide. I'm not exaggerating this. As in, people are put under tremendous pressure. From morning to night for 2 years, they're only solving numericals and numericals and numericals and numericals and numericals. And imagine a kid who is restless, who wants to play sports, who is very good in some extracurricular. That child is being pushed into a kind of a system, says you do nothing but studies because you have to reach there and that's the only way that you'll succeed in life. What happens to these children's mindsets? What is the mental health? Are they really going to be happy in their life? And, I was an IIT aspirant myself. I prepared for IIT for 2 years from 10th standard till 12th standard. And I was very confident that I'll make it. But the day results came and I did not make it, I know what I went through. And it's not easy. Let me tell you the kind of adverse effect such a result has on a child's mind and the self-esteem, it's irreparable to an extent. Because, the child is prepared so hard, 2 years, 3 years, they put their heart and soul into work. And at the end of the day, when you do not get selected for something like this, the poor child starts believing that I'm not good. And that feeling is very, very bad. No child should feel like that. My belief is that every child has got some special quality and they can do something great in their life. And there are enough opportunities available today. But unfortunately, what happens is when everybody runs towards that small door, which is JEE or NEET or whatever it may be, and you don't make it, it has a very deep effect on your inner mind and how you look at yourself at all. And it affects your life very badly. So that's the reason why we are conducting this session for parents to be open-minded to understand that, there are lots and lots of opportunities and options available in the world today. Why are we only thinking about science? And this science which we are talking about, that they're going to learn science and learn mathematics. Any child today in the present digital era, if they really want to learn science or learn mathematics, they don't really have to conform to that books of school. They can actually get into scientific associations, scientific forums. They can go into, conferences, attend it, and they can learn as much as they want to learn. Online options are available. You don't need to be restricted to the brick and mortar system of our 80s and 90s saying that only if I go to school and sit in front of the teacher and the teacher opens this book and tells me what is science, that is science. Now, I am mentoring some children who are thinking way beyond what is being taught in the class. I have an 8th standard student who writes 8 pages thesis on time travel. And he says, I'm thinking of it. which is fine. Why can't he think of it? He goes to school and tells his teacher, this is all practically not possible. Don't think like this. Read what is given in your book. The problem is that why are we constraining our children's mind to say that you should do only what is given in the school books? Why can't we open their minds to say there's a whole world available for you to learn? If your child is scientifically oriented, then there is no dearth of opportunities for him to learn from the world. But if the child is not scientifically oriented, pushing this child into a scientific area and trying to force him into getting into something, I don't think that's a good idea. But then if the child is scientifically oriented, then there are so many options available. Why only engineering? That's also a question to be answered. Beyond other than engineering, there is no other option available. So these are some mindsets that we talked about. People think that science has got more options. Humanities streams leads to low paying jobs. Yeah, if you do commerce means you have to directly you start preparing for chartered accountancy. Okay, the only good option in humanities is law. Again, you have to prepare for entrance exam called CLAT and all and start preparing for law. And they also believe that future for humanities or arts is bleak and science is safe, as slightly brought out. People feel that there are too many backup options. Yes, you're right. If you take science, then you can get into any arts or commerce. But if you're in arts or commerce, then you cannot get into science. You're right about it. I don't deny that. But then if a child is not scientifically oriented, then why would I even think of a scientific career for them? It's a question to be asked that we need to be open about. Now, when we look at the careers in science, of course, we have huge number of options other than medicine and engineering. Okay, so we have forensic sciences, we have pharmacological research, biotechnological research, zoological research, plant research, food research, mathematical research, statistical research. There are too many options available other than engineering, and probably, not many people are aware about it. But then what happens is there is a standard run of the mill kind of a thing that you have to give JEE and you have to get yourself an engineering degree, which may not be required at all if somebody is really research oriented. So if a kid is research oriented, there are many, many more options in science beyond just the NEET and JEE that we are talking about. There are options. We'll talk about it. Second thing that I want to say is if you look at education options and you're saying that science, I was surprised. My son was studying in Delhi public school here in the humanities section. And, when I used to ask him what happens in class in humanities, he was studying in 11th and 12th. And I was looking at the science students studying in 11th and 12th. The science students in classroom, they used to be preparing for their JEE exam and NEET exam. The teacher is teaching something and they have their own coaching classes, material or assignments being done at that point in time. So that was how 11th and 12th happens in science schools. And I'm sure a lot of you will resonate with that because the whole mind is focused on clearing the entrance exam and all the time they're solving physics problems, maths problems, chemistry problems, biology problems. They're focused on only studying those subjects. Whereas if you look at the humanities side, it was very interesting. They were having, model United Nations meetings. They were having visits to places. They were participating in the Lit Fest. They were having debate. They have created debating societies. They were having debates within the class. And it was so interesting. They used to discuss the newspaper every day in the class, and they're talking about every topic which is under the sky. I said, wow. So I felt somewhere, because I never got into humanities. I myself was a science student. So I did not know that humanities can be so interesting. Imagine the kind of exposure that these kids are getting and the kind of people that used to be invited for guest lectures in school, 11th and 12th. People are coming from, there are, lawyers coming and talking about their stuff. There are social scientists coming and talking about their stuff. People from the United Nations and World Bank come and give a complete session where the conference which was held. So the humanities was, way, way more, widespread and broad as compared to the science which only talked about, okay, you have to study, you have to crack your exam, you have to study, you have to crack your exam. Now, if you look at these two, obviously, as a scientific person, I felt somewhere this humanities side seems to be more educational than the science side, which is only talking about cracking an examination. That was another question that, arose in my mind. That means even if you look at this slide that I'm showing you, look at the options that are available when you get into the humanities side of selecting subjects at all. Somebody into liberal arts, somebody into selecting subjects. Look at the options. Whereas if you look at science, it is just those subjects: biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics. That's it. Nothing more. Whereas if you look at the art side, you have too many options available. And if you go into liberal arts, you can actually select multiple of them. You can do mathematics, you can do this, you can do economics, you can do psychology, and you can come up with being a, behavioral economist. And you can actually be one of the organizational, data analyst or something like that. There are so many career options available in those areas nowadays. And they are well paying. They're very well paying as compared to just being an engineer and just being one of the, people in the world. So that's something that we need to think about. Now just look at the careers without any subject restriction. Okay, I'm showing you some fields where there is no subject restriction at all. You do not need to be into science or arts or commerce. If you decide that you want to be a trader in commerce, you're into a business line. And somebody who's having a business family, getting into business doesn't need you to be actually sitting in class and learning some 5 subjects and getting some degree there. I mean, you have to learn how to manage a business. And unfortunately, there is no course or there is no education which is designed for these people today. Of course, the commerce talks about it, but my son is studying commerce in 12th standard, and very sorry to say, what is being taught in that commerce subjects is way obsolete. Nobody today, makes a, paper account sheet and puts a left side and right side entries. I mean, that's way obsolete now. We have ERP systems, we have tools and techniques that we use, and it's very easy to understand. It's nothing too great. So what is happening is there is no education which is not connected to what is happening at work. And there's being taught something which is 20 years back or 30 years back maybe was applicable, but today it is not applicable at all. So that's a problem. And if you look at all these careers, whether it is a media career, now you have people who are broadcast journalists, and they are earning a huge amount of money. Somebody like Rajdeep Sardesai, Barka Dutt, you look at Arnab Goswami, there are people who are minting money in crores. And even if you're not talking about them, the other people in the media, they're also making a lot of money. There's so many OTT channels which are there. There's so many actors, directors, movie makers, producers, designers, so many of them in the media. The sound artists, sound designers, lyrics designers, lyricists, everybody has got a role to play, and they are very happy and they're making a lot of value for themselves. And these industries are growing also. You look at design careers, somebody is good at drawing, design has got more than 100 options. You can be a jewelry designer, accessory designer, a product designer, an automobile designer, a gadget designer. There are so many options available, and this is a very upcoming area. Academic side. Now, when we talk about research, research is again, there is scientific research and there is non-scientific research. Not many people are aware. Now, there are people who are doing historical research. There are history associations in India today who are rewriting the history books. There's a lot of work happening in that side. There is anthropological research. There is, social research. There is political research. So the entire government, political parties today use political scientists in the back end who do a lot of statistical analysis and come up with data. Now, there is a lot of work happening in that area. So we are having a lot of research options which need not be just science oriented. Of course, there is these artistic areas of, sculptors and fine arts people and performing arts who all have got various opportunities which are coming up today. If you look at it, if you look at our media today, enough and amount of people have started their ventures and entrepreneurship which are thriving today on what they are doing. Of course, we have government services, which is again a very small door. If you look at the run behind that UPSC and the IES and IAS and all that, it's a very small door and there's a stampede. So moment a child does not get a job, everybody starts preparing for UPSC exam. So, if you don't get a job to your choice, the first thing you do is I'll prepare for UPSC. So another 3 years gone. And your morning to evening, you're only studying. And there is no backup option. Now what happens is if you waste your prime years of life only studying and not doing work, you lost your time and you lost your confidence. And only 1%, less than 1% are going to crack the UPSC. What happens to the 99%? There's a problem there again. So you should never get into without a backup plan. You should never get into a place where a very small door is there unless you are really sure, 200% sure that you're going to make it. And those people are clear. They sometimes don't have to go to a coaching class. In fact, 50% of the people who get admission into these UPSC or JEE or all these exams are people who do self-study and get into it. They already know that they are there. They're already on the top. They're very good in academics. They're very good in stuff. So they easily crack the exam. So they can get it. There's no problem. But the problem is with the rest who are unsure whether I'll make it or I'll not make it. When you're in that unsure category, you cannot have this as your only plan. You need to understand really whether you want to do it, number one. And if you really want to do it, you must have a backup plan. And if you feel that you have some other talents in you which can be honed, then there are enough options available in the world. And you need to look at those options and start early. Why am I talking to these parents? Because today your children are in 8th, 9th standard. And this is the right time to actually focus and understand their interests. So that if we are able to sit together and plan their careers for the next, say, 6 years, what they're going to do, it's a preparatory time for them to design their lives for the next 40 years of their work life. And these 6 years become cardinal, where we can sit down together and plan it properly, saying that this is exactly what I want to do. So there's no risk involved in it. Because, right from ninth standard, if you start preparing yourself to develop yourself, develop your skills, develop your personality, develop your life skills, and we put everything into place along with the education. So the education is a minuscule part. I'm not saying don't educate. I'm not saying don't go to school or college. You have to go to school, you have to go to college, but go to that kind of a course which is linked to your future. So if you decide that I want to be a greatest designer, I want to work in BMW or Mercedes Benz as a chief designer, then start working towards it now. Start honing your drawing skills, start honing your portfolio, create your portfolio, develop your personality, develop your confidence, develop your lifestyle. Everything start developing towards that dream of becoming a great chief designer of Mercedes Benz 10 years from now. So if you start thinking like this, if you start putting this thought into the child's mind, automatically what happens is there is a confidence building which happens, there's a skill development which happens, then accordingly academics also gets designed. That means they join a program which is related to design, they join the courses which is related to design, they do online certifications, they build skills, everything gets coupled on to that dream of being kya karna hai. That is a very wrong approach, which is what the market is telling you to do. Just put them into engineering. Once they do engineering, let them decide what they want to do, or let them decide to be. Now, doctor is again a very dangerous thing. I'll just show you some data here. Okay. Now, if you look at the data, now look at the entrance exams. I'm showing you this entrance exam slide. You have science, you have JE main, JE advanced, architecture is NATA, medical is NEET, and then you have some research examinations which are conducted. That means you can get into research. Not many parents are aware about it. So if your child is very scientifically oriented, likes to do research, very studious, very academically oriented, KVPY is a scholarship exam. There is a nest to get into, the NICER and the ICERs. Then there is IIC exam which is held. So KVPY directly gets you into IIC also. So these institutes like ICERs and IISc and NICER are institutes where they actually prepare you for becoming a research scientist. And it's a very, very promising profession. Okay, which is very different from just being a BTech or a MTech in engineering or something like that. And somebody who's scientifically and academically oriented, my suggestion is consider this research option very, very seriously. So it is not, science is just not equal to engineering or medical. It is beyond that. There's much more that you can do. Now, if you look at the other side, the non-science side, you have many options there. And these options are related to entrance exam, but other than entrance exams, as I said, there are huge number of fields open where you don't have to give any entrance. So it's an easy entry. That means you can be a historical researcher, you can be a statistician and a cephalogical researcher, which is working for the elections and all that. You can be an anthropological researcher, you can be a political researcher. So there are so many areas that are available in the other side. Now, I'm going to show you something which is very starking out here. This is a data that we got. Around 12 to 14 lakh students get into coaching classes for JEE preparation every year. And that means you spend minimum of 2 years and you invest a lot of money, you invest a lot of time and effort into this whole concept of coaching classes, where you go and spend time solving numericals and understanding tips and tricks, and you keep on solving to crack that exam. Out of this 12 to 14 lakh students, 10 lakh appeared, around 10 to 12 lakh people appear normally for the JEE, and total number of seats in the good colleges, when I say good colleges, including IITs, which are about 10,000, then NITs, then your private engineering colleges like BITS Pilani, SRM and Manipal and all that put together are only 50,800 seats. Now just imagine, look at these numbers, 12 to 14 lakhs and just 50,000 good seats. What about the remaining students? Then there are all these B grade, C grade, D grade engineering colleges run by politicians, owned by politicians, which are just giving you a degree for the sake of giving you a degree, horrible faculty, no placements. You get into those colleges and spend 4 years of your prime time learning stuff which is absolutely not required, and there are no placement guaranteed there. What happens to them, and what happens to those people who took the coaching classes for 2 years and felt that they are not good for JEE and did not attempt it only? Now just imagine the numbers that we are talking about here. I'm talking about every year, I'm talking about 9 lakh students who are not getting to do anything and they're feeling frustrated about themselves, saying that I'm not good. Who is there for them today? Nobody's talking about them. Everybody's trying to show those few people who get into the top colleges. And what happens to these balanced people? Now, what if any of your children are not in that academic variety and they are very good in sports? they are very good in some communication, or they're very good in talking, they love doing something, and they are being pushed into something like this. Even if they are able to solve some problems in maths by pushing them and forcing them, are they going to be happy doing what they're doing? Is a question that you need to ask. Now this is your JEE ka data. I'll show you a NEET ka data. Now NEET also is the same thing. 15 to 16 lakh students take coaching. 13.66 lakh appear, and the total seats in MBBS, BDS, Ayush, all these medical courses that are there are 1,62,000 only. And out of this 1,62,000, if you actually look at the reservations in the seats, more than around 54% are reserved seats. So if you are general category, you can just go to less than only around 80,000 seats are available. So that's all. And what about the remaining students who have appeared, who prepared for NEET, who had an aspiration to become a doctor? And then what happens is, for the market of education takes over, they start pushing people to go abroad and do medical. So there are these colleges in Russia, in China, and so many places where you can go and do your MBBS and come back, or medical sciences and come back. But you have to come back and clear a FMGE examination, which is a medical board examination. There's a NEET exit, they call it, exit NEET. And that exit NEET is compulsory for anybody coming from any college. And the pass percentage in exit NEET is only 9.94%. So that means after finishing your MBBS from abroad, when you come back, you cannot practice as a doctor unless you clear this exam. So what happens is, your time is gone, your money is gone, your energy is gone, the time is never going to come back. That entire degree is wasted, is of no point. And the worst part is that your self-esteem is affected. You don't believe that you're good because you didn't clear NEET, you did not get into the top colleges in India, so you feel very bad about yourself. And this is because there was no plan other than medical. This is the situation. And then this is some news that I want to show you. I picked up some news articles. Today, if you look at it, even after people getting into engineering, when they come out, and I am proof to this, I've been hiring engineers, they don't understand what is the basic work that is required, because that is not being taught in the colleges. The colleges only want you to solve numericals and get marks, or just answer and get marks. Nobody is connecting them to the world of work. Very few of them, very few colleges are there who are actually connected to the world of work. So we have this abysmal state of affairs in the industry today. So what do we do? So how do we prepare these guys for the future? Is a very big question I want to ask. So with this, I'm just going to stop my presentation here, and I'm going to ask you guys to, let's discuss about it. So whatever I showed you, let's have a discussion on this, and I would like to know your views now. What do you think about this? I have a lot of parents here whose, children are in the stage where they have to take a decision that what they have to do in life. So I'm sure, your minds have started thinking, and I have injected certain thoughts into your mind. So I want you to just open out and let me know, what do you think about it? What do you feel about it? And if you have any apprehensions, if you have any kind of questions, we can surely help you, because we have a lot of data, we have a lot of research, we have a lot of work that we have done with a lot of students and parents. So we can definitely help you. Any kind of questions, any kind of worries, any kind of problems that you're facing, we'd be very glad to know that and help you out in that.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Neena. I'm a parent of a 8th grade student. My son is in 8th standard.
Okay.
We could understand the concepts. We could understand, actually, when you were showing the mindset screen, this is the same thing what's going through in the current situation. But the actual fact is, if they want to go to a particular career, they have to go in the education system, they have to go through it, and they have to get good marks. That's a fact, no, sir?
Okay, a good question. See, first thing is that, what you're saying, I'm not denying it. Every parent wants his child to do well in academics, and I'm not going to tell you that your child should not do well in academics. So that's my first point to you. So, we're not getting into an argument that academics is good or bad. Every child needs to score in academics, given. But my point is that, the fear that is put into parents' mind, saying that if you don't get good marks, so your life is gone away. That's not true. Okay, that we have got enough proof for that. Because if you go to your own life and just check out your own class, how many of your classmates who did not score marks, okay? And where are they today? Just do a very practical check. Okay, I understand. See, the education system has put a lot of pressure onto our head, saying that if your child doesn't score marks, he'll not get admission. And if he doesn't get admission in a good college, your life is gone. That's the fear that they put into your head. But let me tell you, the general education entry, or the GER ratio in India for higher education Okay, this is the statistics that I'm giving you. It is the how many people are actually getting educated in that age group, and it is from 18 to 25. When we talk about higher education, 18 to 25, as per the record of the government research, which is statistical research that has been done, present research says that the GER ratio, enrollment ratio, general enrollment ratio, that means if I take a gap of 18 to 25 years and I say how many people are there in India in 18 to 25 and how many students are actually into higher education, is that ratio. How many people are entered? It is only 26%. Only 26% of our youth from 18 to 25, that means 18 years is starting of college, 25 years is finishing PhD. So I'm talking for entire youth, 18 to 25, only 26% of them are actually into education. Remaining are not doing education in that highest education at all. That is the reality for you. That means to say that if I start looking at the 50,000 colleges in India today, which are there, these 50,000 colleges have enough number of seats to give a seat to every single child who wants to get into education. When I'm looking at this 26%. So there is no dearth of seats, number one. Okay, seats are available. Now to say that my child will get into Delhi University, only then he's a good guy. If he doesn't get into Delhi University, he's not a good guy. So if you say that, like my son, when he was in Delhi public school, everybody was saying, Delhi University, if you have to get into, you have to score minimum 99% marks, 98% marks. If you do not score 98% marks, you will not get into DU. And if you don't get into DU, rest all colleges are not as good and you will not get this thing. Today, my son is in DU and the classes are online and I watch his classes. Let me tell you, he was in Loyola College before this for 3 months. I saw those classes. I saw the Delhi University classes. And today, when you are sitting at home, you are watching the classes being conducted by the schools, right or wrong? So today the schools have come home. Colleges have come home. So it is no longer something that was hidden from us. We know what is happening. And the reality of the fact is, it does not make a difference. 19-20 ka farak hai. Whether you study in Delhi University or you study in Loyola or you study in any college, it is not going to make much of a difference because those studies are very restricted. They're only giving you some curriculum. They're only giving you some material which is to be learned and answered back. The real education is beyond that studies. Your child will anyway score marks. If your child gets excited about his life or her life and says, I want to do something great, they will do so much that this studies becomes a very small part of his development, and they will do exceedingly well in academics because this studies is nothing. It is so easy. Unfortunately, what happens is your child is in 8th standard. The child is made so afraid of mathematics. Every time teacher will come and say, maths is very tough. You have to give a lot of time to maths. Believe me, I'm an expert in maths. When my son comes and tells me maths is very tough, I take 2 minutes to clear the problem and in 2 minutes he understands it. It is so simple. None of the maths of 10th standard or 11th standard, 12th standard can be called tough, provided you look at it from a easy perspective. If you make it tough, you keep telling it is tough, it starts clogging your mind and you start spending unnecessary time doing stuff which is not required to be done. It's a logical thinking. Somebody's logical thinking has to be increased. You give them problems and teach them how to solve the problems using their own mind. They'll find ways to do it. But if you tell them, no, you have to follow the steps that I have told you, you have to go by A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, then what happens is the poor child gets clogged in the mind saying that this is the way I have to do it. When you allow the child to think beyond what is being taught in the class and say, come on, it's so simple. Yeah, you just have to solve this. Come on, it's so easy. Just look at it. Just look at this logically and find it. So if the child is logical minded, it's very easy to solve it. Now, if the child is not at all logical minded, probably the child is not meant to be into this academic space of mathematics and science and all that stuff. Probably the child is meant to do something great like A.R. Rahman or maybe like some abstract painter or maybe a designer or maybe something else. Then why are we forcing that child to get into a zone where he is not comfortable at all? Not a logical kid. Now we need to understand this very well because not all kids are same. Not all children are same. The education system seems to have been made only for that framework of children who are completely logical minded, completely structured, completely systematic. But do you tell me in your life, do you find people all the same? All of us are different. There could be some people who are completely illogical, completely unsystematic, but they are doing very well. For example, a person like A.R. Rahman to create the music or R.D. Burman in those days to create that music, he cannot be a logical person. He has to be very illogical. So if he gives a logical exam, he may fail miserably. And that poor chap who is R.D. Burman will made to feel that you are a useless idiot, you don't know what to do. Whereas that guy is a great musician. And that logical person can never create the music which R.D. Burman created. And today the opportunities are there. In our days, these opportunities were not there in front of us. We didn't have internet. We did not know what is happening in the world. So we were stuck to the options which are being shown to us. But today the situation has changed. Today why we still believe that only option to do thing is to score marks. Again, scoring marks, suppose the child is not logical and we put him into humanities, and in humanities he takes up subjects which are not logical and he's able to think creatively and answer them, probably the child will score very well in that. So, if you don't understand your child and try to force your child into a direction which is, something that the child is acclimatized to or is able to handle very easily, I think it is our problem. As parents, we need to understand our children better rather than trying to force them onto a system which says this is the only option available to you. That's my answer to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Until now, I was having a mindset that the college where they are going to study is a big thing. You have changed it, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely, ma'am. Any other questions, any other things? We love to answer the questions.
No, but sir, what my thought, if we are studying and we are getting good marks,
Right.
we are not criticizing the kid, but he is getting good marks with logic.
Right.
But college matters, right? Do you believe or not?
No, see, my point is, yes, now understand. I'll answer your question.
One case, just think that you studied and you got 99% marks.
Right.
But once you go and appear for any placement, so now company is also putting that kind of a structure and mindset that if you are from top 5 or top 50 colleges, then your package will be this much. They won't see your merit, they won't talk much about your thought process or if you are illogical or illogical, but they'll throw that money to you.
Sir, can I ask you which company you work in?
I worked in Accenture, Entity, Dell.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Can I share something with you, sir?
Sure.
I want to share some data with this entire audience. So
Right.
what happens is today we have to understand the Indian economy. And I'm not just saying it like this, but you can go and see the Labor Ministry's report of Indian government and you please see the data of the entire Indian economy. Now you'll be surprised to note today that 91% of India's economy is a disorganized sector. And when I'm saying disorganized, you go around, that I'm in Pune, I'm in a place, in our office is in a place called near Market Yard. And if you go around Market Yard and you see all these traders and you see these small shops and you see small companies all around, and a lot of them are, some of them who are on the roads and they are doing street side vending and all that stuff and they have small shops and all that. They are disorganized. They're completely disorganized. I don't think they are even into the tax circuit, many of them. Many of them even evade tax. So if you look at the number of taxpayers in our country, anyone can guess what is the percentage of population that is actually paying tax in our country?
3% is.
So you can understand that in a 136 crore population, when only say 1.5 crore is paying taxes.
Right.
Okay. So there's a big problem. Now what happens is we have grown up in an environment where we have seen Accenture, Dell, Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, Persistent in the technological space and in other spaces like Wipro, all these companies put together. Now I'm talking about the 9%, balance 9%. In the balance 9%, all these companies that I just named, they are just 2 to 3% of the 9%. They are just 2 to 3%. 97% of the balance 9% organized industry are small and medium enterprises which employ less than 500 people. Now, this is a Labor Ministry's data that I have got and it's available on the net. You can go and look at the data.
Yes,
right? 97% of the industry is having small companies, small and medium enterprises. Now, I'm a small and medium enterprise. I have 30 people in my company. And the people who are employed, the minimum salary that we are paying to a fresher is about 15 to 16,000 rupees. Wipro also pays 10,000 rupees to a fresher. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if IITs talk about a placement, says it gets in crores, salaries in lakhs. Now these people are people who get paid in dollars or in euros. They are the 0.01% population. Okay. The toppers of toppers who get into that circuit and then they average it out and then they put a figure in front of you which makes you feel, wow, this is something great. Okay. Not everybody draws that kind of a salary. So what happens is you cannot use the topper salary, like Sundar Pichai is one guy amongst thousands and you say Sundar Pichai banna hai. Not everybody becomes Sundar Pichai and CEO of Google, right? So what happens is when we are shown, again it's a small door and a stampede happening towards a small door. We are not thinking logically. So what is happening is we cannot use the logical concept saying that Accenture, Wipro and Infosys decide what a child should be doing in college and how much he should be scoring. Because they do not have that kind of openings for the entire masses. They have very, very few openings. And those very few openings are anyway going to be taken by those guys who are in top. So if your child is in the top and doing well, by all means, he's ready for it. He's logical minded, he's structured. So he's going to crack the JEE, he's going to crack the NEET and very clear that he wants to be an artificial intelligence scientist. Why not become that? But we are not talking about those kids. We are talking about the balance of the kids where they're being misled to believe that अगर आप कर दोगे बच्चे को ना मार के सिखा दोगे ना तो वो पहुंच जाएगा वहां पे. So my point is that it is not about those kids who are already there on the top 1% and they're doing very well and they're academically oriented and they want to do well. They can always do it. Again, these children probably do not need a coaching class. They can sit at home, they can prepare and they can reach where they will have to reach. But there is a huge population in our country today who, are very good in sports, for example, very good in talking, very good in communication, maybe aggressive, maybe very good business orientation, very good creative orientation, but they do not have an option today. Parents are not aware about options for them. So we are here telling that, identify what your kid is actually and what they really aspire to become. Understand their keen interest, understand their areas of their personality, their way, what they want to do, and then let us decide what direction they're going to take in life, rather than just following the beaten path. Every child will only do engineering or only do medical or something like that. That's my point.
Yeah, that's true. But my question is, I'm not talking about 1% or 0.5% people, students. So I'm talking about the remaining students, what their thought process is. If they are not selected, might be they'll get a little bit of mentally down, right?
Correct. Absolutely right.
So their preparation flow or the pitch where they should be, they are not finding it, right? Might be guardian also not thinking that way. So that is there. But first of all, the company is creating that kind of environment that if you are topper, if you are thinking that, and after that also, if you have money, then only you can be in that college.
Correct.
First of all.
Correct.
So you need money, you need time, you need everything. Then only you can get admitted.
Absolutely.
But if someone who is lower than the below poverty line, BPL, right? So if those people who is very extraordinary people, because when I go to my native, I force those people. Sometimes I help them also. But thing is, how they will get recognized from the company, how they can get recognized from the other side. They have the capability, but they don't have time and money.
Correct.
So in that case, those people who have the extraordinary mind, but they are not switching it at the right time. So sometimes it is very difficult, and if you got admitted also, then the company is selecting only those people who is above 95% and all.
Yeah. So what happens is, we have been dealing with a lot of below poverty line and economically challenged children, and we find that they are actually better off than many of our urban children.
Of course, yeah.
Because they have a hunger in their stomach, कि उनको कुछ करके दिखाना है.
And the best part is they are multitasking. They are doing a lot of things.
And today there are enough opportunities available for them. Today, there are scholarships available. There are fellowships available.
Government is doing a lot of things. I know.
Government is doing, and a lot of societies are doing, a lot of people are doing. So there's a lot of scholarship. We have got a list of about 1,000 scholarships today, more than 1,000 scholarships in India. And if we actually take that list out, we can actually, and mentors are doing it. Our mentors, we have got more than 3,000 mentors across India, and we're actually helping people. We tell parents, we sit with those people and tell them, come on, you apply for this scholarship, apply for this. So if your person has that capability and wants to do something great, there is enough and more. And second, high value, low cost education is not aware about. For example, today, IISc Bangalore, can you guess it? What is the tuition fees or total fees in the year there? Even today, it's 15,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, not more than that. So it is not a great amount. But what happens if you're really extraordinary and you get into these things, life is made, because it is not a huge cost at all. Today in Pune University, my son is studying in a college. His annual fees is 1,500 rupees.
Yeah, I think DU also having the same thing, right?
Yes, DU is also having the same. DU also is 15,000 to 20,000 rupees.
Correct.
And you go to there are 50 central universities in India. Each central university is managed by the Ministry of HRD. It is meant for the entire population of India. And there are more than 50 central universities. And all these central universities got more than 800 to 1,000 acres of land with all the infrastructure provided by the government of India. And they've got good faculty. They've got good infrastructure. They've got good collaborations with various industries. And the cost is hardly anything there. So, but people don't know about it because the coaching classes don't sell that, right? Coaching classes will only sell you IIT and, AIMS and, all the things which are very difficult to get.
Because they need money to run their institute as well, right?
Exactly. So what we tell parents is, don't worry. You've got enough opportunities, but first decide what your child wants to do and be your partner to the child, saying that, Kalo, let's work together. We'll create your dreams. Whichever line you want to go into, there is opening available. You can find a place, you can study, you can build yourself up, you can achieve something great there. But being happy is important. Don't do something that you don't like. Start liking your life, start enjoying your life. Work is not a tension, If I work on Saturday, Sunday, I go back home. I'm not going and talking about कि यार आज work में बहुत tension था, but should never do that. Because a child will start believing that, work means it is something other than life. That is a very wrong feeling or a value that we're giving to our child. When we as parents go back home, we should show a lot of energy to them. Yeah, I enjoyed my work. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And if children start thinking about it like that, they start enjoying their work life. And that's when the
Yes.
real excitement will come in. That's the whole point.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, anyone else?
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, some of the students will be like more focused and goal oriented, but some of them they'll still have a confusion even they are in the high schools. Like, at a point of time they'll say, I like space, I want to be a scientist. At some point of time they'll say, I want to be a pilot. Some point of time I can see my adolescent boy, he's saying, I like history, I want to go in that stream. But how can we find out? How can we find out the right route for them?
Very good question, ma'am, and I'll answer this question for everyone's interest. See, what happens is that's the reason why we are doing this mentoring concept. This whole concept of mentoring is that only because it's very important to understand the child very well. Well, there are many factors that we need to understand, and whenever we are trying to set a direction in a child's mind, there are many factors. The first factor is called personality. Understanding the child's personality is very important because some child is restless, some child is quiet, some child is very talkative, sometimes aggressive. These are all personality behavioral styles, and these styles normally don't change beyond adolescence. After adolescence, this personality gets fixed and it remains that for your life. The expressions change, maturity comes and all that comes, but basic personality doesn't change. So, once we understand the personality very well, we could suggest that the areas which will suit that personality, because putting a restless kid into research of space, for example, if a kid is very restless, cannot sit in one place, likes to move around, and we say go and do space research, now that's complete misalignment. The child may be good in maths, good in science, but then doesn't like to sit in one place. There is no point putting the child into a research area. So they'll rather do something which requires you to move around. Maybe become a marine oceanologist or an ocean technologist who has to travel the world and go and measure the ocean, So that child will do research, but where moving is involved. Restlessness is used there. So that is something that we have to look at, number one. Number two, we have to look at the abilities which are inherent in the child. There are a lot of children who have certain aptitudes like, design aptitudes are there, creative aptitudes are there. There are some, mathematical aptitudes are there. So when we start checking all that and we link it to the personality, we are able to come up with options. The third is what you talked about is interest areas. Now, interest areas are something that keep changing. As a child goes ahead, I like this today, I don't like this today. So that will keep changing. So you cannot go primarily by interest areas and say that you should do this or you should do that. At a young age, these interests keep changing. But when you talk to a, say, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, the interests kind of start getting formulated there, saying this is exactly what I want to do. So from career stage to career stage, it will differ. So when we deal with students and parents, we actually look at the career stage and accordingly give more importance to either the personality and ability or the interest, depending on their stage. If a child is very young in 8th standard, the interests are not that important. The personality is, the abilities are. But when you talk to an 18-year-old, the interests become very important along with the personality. The abilities can be built in, and it can be developed also. You can keep developing skills, but a personality becomes a very core factor. Apart from that, we also have to look at the family background, the family values, the parents' expectations, the child's dreams, the child's aspirations. There are a lot of factors that have to be found out. The multiple intelligences of the child, the learning styles of the child. So all this needs to be identified, and we have to build an inventory, and this mentoring process is about building this inventory for the child to know that, yeah, I have discovered myself as a person who has these abilities with me, these personality styles, these knowledge areas, these multiple learning intelligences I have, these learning styles I have. These are the original skills that I already possess. These are the passion areas that I have. These are my aspirations. These are my dreams. Accordingly, the parents have certain preferences and certain work values. For example, you come from a Gujarati family, they will say, business is something that we are looking at. You come to a Tamilian family, they will say intelligence and studies is something that we are looking at. So it depends from family to family. So when we deal with families, we have to understand the person's background also, and then have a win-win situation saying that how do you decide what you want to do? Let the child decide. We don't decide. Let the child decide, but with a lot of data, with a lot of facts, with a lot of research and a lot of exploration, which we help and say, okay, now you decide what you want to do. It takes some time. Maybe it will take a week's time for the child to do some research and come back. But let the child take that time. It's okay. Because that is where the child will start opening out into understanding the world of work. And this should start at the age of 13, 14, so that there is enough time to, explore and focus on an area and then go full focused in that direction. So this exploration should happen as soon as possible. That's my point. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir, my last question.
Yeah.
When a child want to go to a history stream, what are the possibilities available?
Fantastic. See, today, when you look at history, history stream is just a stream. But if you look at history, the way it is being used today, why is history important for the country? We need to understand that. And what are the different areas in which you can get into? You need to understand that. For example, today there are historical researchers. One is, of course, you can get into the academic line and you can be teaching history to a lot of people. If you look at Delhi University professor or JNU professor or any central university professor in the field of history, they are researchers in that field. And today in Pune we have institutions like Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. We have a lot of such research institutes where there are these historians who sit and write books. They write research papers, they publish papers. There are a lot of grants which are given to them. Government grants come to them where they actually publish these books which are put into the academic circuit so that history can be spread to the country. There are now private organizations which are supporting the history of India, and there's a lot of debates which are happening across the country and across the globe on the relevance of history to the economic growth at all. Saying that why this history is important is because the pride is getting generated in people about the civilization that they belong to and what is the civilization all about. So that's a very deep topic that we are talking about. And it is connected. It's connected to the political studies. It is connected to a lot of things in the culture that have happened. So there are anthropologists, there are archaeologists who are excavating a lot of stuff and finding out historical data based on which there are scientific experiments being conducted and a lot of learnings are coming out of it. And all this can be used for the future to build a lot of good values into the people, to make the people believe in the country. Today, for example, there is this, every Indian child wants to go abroad. Why? Because they don't know about their history. The only history that is being taught to us is that India is a country which is very divided and people have come and plundered and looted us. The real history is not taught to them. So when we start looking at history from a very different perspective, you have a lot of pride in where you are and in your own civilization, in your own roots, and then you start, building yourself up from there on. So history is very important from that perspective. So I should say education is a very, very important space in which history will be used. Of course, apart from that, there is a lot of practical research to be done because history is not about textbooks being written sitting in Delhi, which is what has happened for a long time. People sitting in Delhi, sitting in libraries are writing history books. History books need to be written by travelers, written by people who have lived lives. Today, the country is opened now. Today, we are seeing biopics coming out. We are seeing movies being made on Sardar Udham Singh. Okay, how many of us had heard of Sardar Udham Singh? I did not, for one. I mean, when I grew up, I'd never heard about Sardar Udham Singh. But he was a great man, and like this, there are thousands and lakhs of people who have done a lot for our country. History is about knowing the reality of what has happened in the past and learning the good values from them and using it for the future. So when we pick up those values, when a youth starts picking up those values, so now look at history. For making that movie Sardar Udham Singh, I'm sure some historian has done the research, right? Without that research, that movie could not have been made. So history, like similarly, there is this guy who's written this book on Veer Savarkar, Vikram Sampath. Now Vikram Sampath was an engineer who changed over to, historian who is actually doing research on a particular person, and he has written 2 volumes on this person called Veer Savarkar. And his books are selling like crazy. Everybody is buying those books. So you can become an author, you can become a historical researcher, you can become a historical scientist, and you can become an academician who is spreading the knowledge to others later on in your life. But initially what is required is, as a history person, you need to travel the world and you need to actually look at the places and build your knowledge about what has actually happened there. So that's how important history is today.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Any other parent would like to ask anything?
Yeah, Naveen, this is Swanand here, Swananda Kulkarni.
Yeah.
So actually, I am completely in line with your thoughts and have been since last few months or year, if I would call it. I would like to know one thing, like with all these background private institutions, coaches, classes who are running their own private agenda, how as parents do we find alternatives? And even for that matter, these private schools and colleges, right? So how do we find out alternatives with the focus or strategy that we have defined for our child?
Brilliant question, sir. Brilliant question. And I think this is a problem that all of us are facing. And I'm very proud to say that we are today, our think tanks, we have got a lot of mentors and we have got a lot of parents like you. And we are creating a think tank where we will be, that's why we are doing these sessions also. So we are, working on a model where we're going to create a system which is the complete, I would say, a womb to tomb system for education, and education not restricted to just degree courses or something like that, but much beyond that. Actually preparing people for the world of work, making them ready completely, giving them all the necessary exposure, development, whatever is needed in a one-stop shop, saying that, okay, you come to Dheya and we look after you completely. So that's something that we are working on. So we'll be very glad to have your inputs and your contributions also, because I'm sure as parents and who have been doing work with Dheya and our mentors put together, we are all people have one passion, that our youth needs to do very well in life, and we have to grow them, and we have to give them the right exposure, and we have to give them the right development. So that's a common string that we are all banking on. And today we have a system already which we can identify people's personality, abilities, interest and all that. What we need to develop is the avenues that you're talking about, where we can actually connect to the industry, we can connect to the different exposures that they can get, do live projects, get into forums, do write research papers, whatever they are interested in. We have to create those avenues for them, which is not very difficult in the time that we are talking, because we already have the wherewithal. We just need to put the technology into place, we need to put the systems into place, and voila, you'll have a complete alternative system available which will just walk them from piece to piece to piece till the time they don't reach their success milestones. That's what we are looking at, and we'll be very happy to have many of you becoming our partners and contributing to creating this whole ecosystem, which I call it.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, as you say, it doesn't exist. It is existing only in pieces for the richy rich. The richy rich people have got some big, I would say, schools which they send their children to, which are, boarding schools and all that, which charge you upwards of 7 lakhs per year. And, there are some colleges which, talk about all that, but it is not available for a general public. So we want to create something which is available for the masses. And we are looking for contributors and people, and we have a huge mentor community. We have a huge positive parents community which is sitting in front of me. And I'm sure with all of us put our hands together and brains together, we will create a system which is amazing for the world.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Sir, I have one more query. In the recent employment news, I have seen about something like Geographical Information System, GIS.
Right.
Can you share your views about GIS and the career opportunities in GIS?
See, the whole concept of geology, geographical information systems, it's coming up. Earth sciences itself is coming up in a very big way. So people getting into research on it, because if you look at it, there's the greening of the world which is happening. There's a lot of pollution that is happening. There are a lot of climate changes which are happening, global warming which is happening. So towards that, there's a huge amount of focus on the area of greening of the world. It's a trend that is happening. Towards greening of the world, if you are a person who's a geologist, now you look at the development that is happening, okay? The development of construction of highways, the development of, the roads are getting connected to the remote villages. So every village is getting connected by, roads, proper roads. That means there is going to be huge development in the future. Now, if you have to develop a land and you come up with it, the environment should not get compromised, which is happening today. If you look at Pune today, the environment is getting, majorly compromised. They're putting cement over every place. They're cutting hills. They are making houses because of greed. Everybody wants a real estate somewhere and building houses and all that. Nobody's thinking about the environmental conservation. So now if you are a scientist who is a geologist or a geoinformatics scientist, there is a huge demand from every builder, and every government is going to have a regulatory mechanism which is going to come up very soon, where green taxes are going to be put onto everybody. So this is being talked about in the world today. If you go and do a little bit of research, you'll find there's something called green taxes which will shortly come up. It will say any industry or any work that you do, if you are not following the conservation of energy or conservation of the environment, you're going to have to pay a huge amount of taxes as green taxes. Now that's going to come up. So there's going to be a lot of penalization happening. So any person who's working in the field of earth sciences, as a geologist, as a geoinformatics scientist or a geoinformation area, they are going to be in huge demand, whether in the government agencies or in the private agencies, which will ensure that they comply to those rules and regulations, right? So geology is a very good field to get into. Geoinformatics is a specialized area which you can get into. And these GIS and all that are people who map the areas, come up with the understanding of the entire earth itself, the layers of the earth itself, and seeing whether energy can be used there, what is the kind of evaluation they're going to do, whether there'll be any adverse effect of doing something there. So mining is a big field, which again has got a lot of regulations in it. So all these scientists get utilized in all these industries. So it's a very, very futuristic area to get into.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So I think it's been quite some time that we started this. I hope we are able to answer your questions. I'm sure you have a huge number of questions to ask more than this also. We would love to, answer your questions. You can just drop in a mail to us. You can be in touch with Vidya also. And whatever questions you have, please feel free to put it across to us. We'll be very happy to answer all of them and remain in touch with you. And we want to conduct more and more such positive parenting meetings where even not only regarding careers, even regarding your teenage children, if you have any issues, if you have any problem that you want to be addressed, please do, refer to us. Please do come to us. We have got a lot of sessions that we conduct and we will help you out with handling any issues that you have with your children. Thank you so much for the patient listening that I got here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naveen sir. Thank you,
Thank
everyone. Please stay in touch. As Naveen sir told you, you can get in touch with us anytime you want. Any concerns, any topics you want to suggest for next workshop, do let us know, please.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Subscribe and press the bell icon to enjoy more exciting and enlightening videos from Dheya.